All right, y'all, what are we going to be talking about today? So, I've been thinking about doing this series for a little while now, and I figured it's time to shoot it. I've shot a lot of other things that I've wanted to shoot, so here's the time to do it. What are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about pawn shop finds for the most part. Otherwise could be, the small local mom and pop gear shop, etc., etc. So I'm going to be building a series based on this because a lot of people always ask me, where do you find all these crazy deals and, all this kind of stuff? Well, the answer is you just got to look everywhere all the time. Fortunately, I'm in an area that has a lot of pawn shops, right? So you can find some really good deals at pawn shops. And we're going to go to Exhibit A right here. What is it? Is it a guitar? Is it an amp? Is it a pedal? What is it? So, pawn shop find. This one's probably one of my best ones, I think. So this one, boom, Steinberger. I think it's GM4T if I remember correctly. But so I walk into a local pawn shop, local to me, and I'm just looking around and I see it behind the counter. It's just sitting on a guitar stand. So I'm obviously curious because I saw that it said Steinberger and not Spirit, because all I had ever seen up until that point was, the less expensive ones, which are still fantastic guitars. I had one and I stupidly sold it a couple years ago. But so I see it sitting there on the guitar stand, and as I'm looking at it, I can see that it just has this massive layer of dust all over it. So it had obviously been there for a while, which is strange because I'm like, you have a Steinberger and nobody bought it? So, long story short, well, it probably won't be short, but anyway, I tried to say that to, make you think you're going to save some time, right? But so I asked the guys, I'm like, hey, what's up with that guitar? And they were like, they just didn't really know. So they pulled it out, and then on the back of the neck, right up here, was a price sticker. Well, what did the price sticker say? It just said 0.00. And I'm like, okay, well, is it for sale? What's going on with it? And they said, well, it's a Steinberger guitar, obviously, but we don't know what model it is, and we don't really know what to price it for. And those of you that know Steinbergers, this is obviously a MusicYo era. So this one, a lot of people would down talk them or say, it's not as good as the Newberg ones, et cetera, et cetera. I've never had one, so I can't form an opinion either way. But I know that this is a very fantastic quality guitar. So I like it. I'd love to see one of the Newberg ones, but those bring crazy, crazy prices, right? Look at that. It actually comes with the mythical trans trem, right? What's cool about these is when you bend your notes, all the notes stay in tune as you bend. And let me see if I can get a good picture of it. But this little bar right here, yeah. So you see those little notches? You can change your tuning when you set your bridge. You just set it to one of those notches. So that's how Eddie Van Halen did. What the heck was that song? I'm drawing a blank on it now. But anyway, he was able to do a song that changed tunings. This is how he was able to do it, by arranging basically where the bridge sits, so to speak, to give him a different tuning. Right, so back to the story of the guitar. So the guys at the shop, and it was on a Friday or a Saturday night, I think. It was probably Saturday. And they're just like, they sell from like $1,000 to $4,000 at the time. This is a few years ago, but they were still expensive even back then. And they just basically said, like, we just don't know what to sell it for. So come back on Monday and come talk to the owner. So I'm like, all right, make sure nobody sells it. They just put it right back on the floor. So I'm just like, hopefully nobody comes and buys this thing, right? So I wait. I go back over there Monday, in the late afternoon time, and the owner's just busy. He's doing what owners do of shops, right? This is kind of a bigger pawn shop, and I couldn't talk to him for like an hour, so I just had to kind of poke around and look at things. There really wasn't anything else in there at the time that was cool that I was looking for. So I'm just fixated on this and just kind of waiting for him to come over. And I had rode my motorcycle at the time. I was riding a V-Rod Night Rod Special, and I had it parked out there. I had my gear on and stuff. And when he finally came around over and had some time to talk to me, First thing was like, hey, is that your V-Rod? And I was like, yeah. And he's a motorcycle guy too. So we started talking. He's like, I hear you might want to buy that Steinberger. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, we don't really know a whole lot about it. But we had had a pretty decent conversation, about motorcycles and things. And he just looked over at his guys and he was like, hey, just give him the family price on that thing. And I'm just like, yeah, because I don't know what that means, right? That could mean all kinds of different things. But then I go over there and I'm just like patiently waiting. I'm like, okay, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? And it came in at a very good price. I don't want to tell you what the price is because then if I ever do want to sell it for whatever reason, then everybody's gonna be like, hey, your YouTube video, you said you paid X amount of dollars for it. So, I just don't want to give people that excuse. And it's not like I plan to sell it. I love the thing. But it was a very good price, under $1,000 this came in at. And even though it is a MusicYo era, just the hardware alone to me is worth $1,000. Just the bridge probably, bridge, pickups, the neck. I mean, you could part it out and sell it for that. That's, like I said, that's not what I want to do. You'll find most of my gear, I don't really want to sell it. I buy it because I like it and I want it. Sometimes I do sell things, but it's not super frequently, right? So, but how cool is that? I mean, basically, just like I said, you have to go to everywhere all the time local to you. You have to check all the different social medias. You have to check the Craigslist and Marketplace and all the websites that I'm not going to tell you about that I look at because some of them, people probably don't know about. Some of the cool things about this guitar, though, I really do like the double ball-end strings. They cost a fortune in comparison to other regular strings. At this time, they're about $30 a set, but they last a long time. And one other cool thing that a lot of people don't think about is you can actually take these off and clean them, and I use break-free CLP. So I'll take them off, I'll coil them up, and then I'll throw them in like a tub or whatever, spray it down, wipe them off, and they're almost good as new. They still keep tuned, they still sound good. Then you basically get all the crap off of them, and that actually does work, right? People will probably say I'm crazy for that, but it works. I've been doing it for years. They had this guitar, I don't remember what year I bought it, but they had this guitar since 2012, and I've probably had it for, I don't know, probably more than 5 years, but they had it in their shop for a few years. But that pretty much wraps it up for the video. Very cool guitar. I mean, if you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see me play it on there. And I mean, it's an EMG 81 at this time. It originally came with the EMG 85, which I still have, but it doesn't have as much output as I like or as I'm used to, and it's not as bright. So I switched out the 85 for the 81. I do have 85 in one of my other guitars though, and I like it in that guitar, but I expect a different tone when I get to that guitar. This one, it just sounded a little too muddy and not enough oomph in the output range for what I wanted from this guitar. So thanks again, guys, for watching, and have yourself a good one. I hope to show you more of my pawn shop finds because there is quite a few. A lot of my gear has come from pawn shops. Like I said, I'm blessed to have a lot in the area, and I can find some very good deals on gear as a result. And of course, obviously that means that somebody else had to sell it for cheap, which is weird to me because we have so many different things social media offer up. We've got, Facebook Marketplace. We've got all the different groups, all those different things. And people, for some reason, still go to pawn shops and give it away for way too cheap. But I don't mind because I get good deals, right? Have a good night, guys.